Speaking of peak, Noelvi Marte had some swings that remind you why you get excited for a guy like this. He also had some instances in the field here where it's also quite concerning to me as well. I feel like we are at a very, very delicate balance point with Noelvi and his mental state when it comes to trying to throw a baseball. We'll talk about that here in just a bit, but I really want to focus perhaps on the swings that he was capable of putting together tonight that remind you of why we were excited about this core back at the end of 2023. And what was a big swing, by the way. It wasn't like it was a, no disrespect to Will Benson's home run, but Noelvi's home run felt like a big swing from a cushion standpoint in this baseball game.
Yeah, Alcantara had really kind of settled into that point. I think he'd only allowed one base runner, I think, in innings 2 and 3. And so the game had kind of stabilized. It was 3-0, and that was a big home run to put the Reds up 5-0. Just the swing was just the classic Noelvi Marte swing that I think a lot of us fell in love with. And yeah, it's just great to see. I mean, he's just another guy that has legitimate bona fide upside. A player that, I mean, only has 427 career at-bats. That's it. I mean, that's like 2/3 of a season, 3/4 of a season.
Yeah,
I mean, he's still so young. I mean, he's an incredible talent. The biggest question for him is not, in my opinion, is he a big league talent? It's, can he play third base?
Yeah, I think it's a good segue to what I'm concerned about, obviously, and I've hinted at this before, and yips is a very strong term. I want people to know that I don't think he's not there yet. I mean, yips is, when you say someone has the yips, it's almost incapable of doing it. Think of Lester trying to throw the ball on a pickoff to first base. Think of Chuck Knobloch back in the day trying to throw the ball to first base. That's when you're at a nightmarish stage. We're nowhere near there yet. I guess where I'm concerned at the most is there's certainly a hitch. There's a guiding of the baseball. There's a fear of trying to throw it. I mean, I know when he catches the ball, and I respect Barry Larkin an immense amount when he talks about infield play. I know that we kind of downplay perhaps his broadcast capabilities, but I clearly the guy was a Hall of Fame infielder. But I think he's talking about fundamentals a little too much sometimes, because it to me seems like more of just a mental hurdle that Noelvi has to get past. He's making maybe fundamental mistakes because he's, in my opinion, just scared to throw the ball over there. It's almost like a timing mechanism thing of catching it. The reason I think this, Nick, is because he doesn't have an arm problem. He clearly has a really good, strong arm. It's the plays where he doesn't make the mistake, Nick, are, in my opinion, the ones that are like, you don't have time to think. Like, those are the ones that he makes good plays on. If he has to backhand a ball in the hole, or he goes deep into kind of the 5 hole to where between third and shortstop, for those that don't know what that is, he doesn't have an issue making that throw. It's the ones kind of that are right at him, or the ones that are just a short backhand to where he has a little bit of time to consider what he's doing, to where he gets himself in trouble. And how you fix that, to be very clear, I don't know if there's a direct answer. Some guys' mental makeup are different than others. Some of them can get out there and work on fundamentals all day long, and then as soon as the game happens, things change. It's not the same. They're not capable of replicating it. I think you just got to see it through, and hopefully you can take some pressure off of him by making it feel like if he makes a mistake, you're not just going to rip him out of the game. And to be clear, I don't think Tito's doing that. Totally. But when you have a lead that's this big, I would have liked for him to stay in there, because it's just like he knows he has a problem right now, and everyone's telling him he has a problem right now. It's like, and I'm not trying to say you need to coddle everybody, but I don't know, man. I just feel like the worst thing you can do for Noelvi right now is being like, hey, we're going to go out here for 3 hours before the game, and Barry Larkin's going to work on you with your fundamentals on how to throw the ball to first base. If there's a way to just to say, hey, just go be an athlete, man. And if he makes 4, 5, 6 good throws in a row, you might never hear about it, forget it ever again. But what I'm saying is we're at this delicate balance now, Nick, where I feel like you start to put a lot of emphasis on it. You make a couple more bad throws, and this thing just spirals out of control where it turns into way more of a deal than it should be. And I think that's where we're at right now. We're at a balancing point that I'm hopeful doesn't rear its ugly head. That's just my humble opinion watching the whole thing.
Yeah, I don't really understand some of the decisions that are made, because Matt McClain can continue to stay in the 2-hole to give him confidence all year long. Spencer Steer gets to play every day in April, but Noelvi Marte plays bad defense in a game that he was the star of the game offensively, and he gets yanked from the game. I don't understand that logic. It's time to get rid of Santiago Espanol. I like Santiago Espanol. I came on the show and defended Santiago Espanol. I think Santiago Espanol could be a valuable player for a playoff team, but this team cannot have him on this roster because of how he continues to get used. I mean, when you see Noelvi Marte smoke a home run, and then you look at Santiago Espinal's page, and the guy's gotten 280 at-bats for this team this year, it's ridiculous. Get rid of him, send him to AAA, trade him, whatever, because the way that he gets used is ridiculous, and it's just insanity.
Yeah, I mean, I get your frustration. I don't know if I'm there yet, but I ultimately understand where the frustration comes from, because clearly the ceiling, if you want to call it that, for Noelvi is just incredibly higher. I guess there's a soft spot in the heart, if you want to call it that, for Tito, for guys that he feels like he can trust defensively. When we talk about, I guess Spencer Steer getting a leash, Spencer Steer's played a good defensive side of the ball, so maybe that's where you're at. Santiago Espinal getting a leash, he's played good, and I say good just generically. I don't want to get into the analytics of all. I'm just saying from a perception standpoint, they've been good defenders. Matt McClain's been a good defender. He gets a long leash about, hitting in the 2-hole, and he's hitting, 200 all year. So it seems like to me, offensively, Tito is very willing to let guys see it all the way through. But if you struggle defensively a little bit at all, you might as well forget about it, because you're not going to get too many more opportunities. Now, some of that depends on who's behind you and whether they're pushing you out, et cetera, et cetera. But again, I'm not going to sit here and blame the coaching staff or anyone else if Noelvi continues to struggle throwing the ball to first base. But to me, this is complete mental, 100% mental. And he has the talent, he has the capabilities, he has the hands, he has the arm strength. It's all there. It's whether or not he's fundamentally capable of just letting it rip and being accurate with the throw. I'm not trying to say he's completely guiding the baseball, but if you watch it, there's a hitch there. It's either he's taking an extra pat on the glove, he's shuffling one extra too many times, he might be looking at the base runner for a half a second. You might think that that's fundamental, right? And some would say, well, yeah, it's bad fundamentals. He's making those mistakes, and trust me, I've had a very small brief moment when I played that this can happen. You're trying your best to not make a mistake instead of trying your best to make a play. We've all been in places in our lives at some point where you have that mentality. And as soon as he's capable of getting over the idea of not trying to make a mistake instead of just making a play, he will be fine. The question is, what kind of pressure is he either going to put on himself, or what kind of pressure is going to come internally from him knowing that he can't make a mistake, or else there will be repercussions because he doesn't play because of the mistake? That we will find out, Nick. And I hope we don't find out because he makes all the plays in the world. But I'm with you. I mean, if you're going to pull him out of a game where it's 7-1 because he's made a couple throwing errors, I got to tell you, Nick, it's hard for me to sit here and think that you're going to be able to trust Tito. Put it this way. It's hard for me to consider Tito trusting him playing defense in a big spot if he doesn't trust him when they're up 7-1 in a baseball game against the Marlins. So time will tell. We will see. But you are going to see, by the way, him being defensively replaced, I think, late in games almost every single time if this is how we did it tonight, regardless of what happens.
Yeah, this team's 47 and 46. They need players with upside to have any chance of having the season go anywhere. And Santiago Espanol's just not a player with upside. It's as simple as that. Noelvi Marte's clearly a player with upside. And I just don't understand. I would love it if someone would have asked that question tonight, like exactly how you laid out. Like, pulled Marte from the game. You worried about, his confidence and things like that. And you had a big lead, but I'm sure it won't get asked.
I don't know.
Or brushed over.
I don't think it'll get the appropriate answer. I think that they'll protect him by saying, "Oh, we just kind of wanted to give, we wanted to make give." I don't know, Santiago Espanol a chance to get his feet wet and keep him active. I don't know. Clearly, it was he's. Let's be honest with ourselves. He's pulled CES in the middle of a baseball game because he took a poor angle to the baseball and made an error at third base. He's defensively replaced Noelvi Marte after he's struggled to throw the ball, and he has struggled to throw the ball over there mightily. He doesn't have nearly the amount of errors that he could have had. Let's be honest with ourselves. He's thrown a couple balls in the dirt that Spencer Steer's dug out. He throws a ball high tonight that Spencer Steer goes up and gets and makes a really good swipe tag. So he's been fortunate that it's not really reared its ugly head from an error standpoint. But just from clearly, I think, Nick, last thing I want to say on this, clearly behind the scenes, in my opinion, it's a very big problem because it's almost as if they've seen even more than I've seen with his inability to throw the ball accurately to first base. Again, maybe I'm overblowing this, and I hope that I am. But I even see in the chat, and obviously Craig's a big part of the show, so I want to bring this up. If you were to move him to the outfield in regards to the throwing accuracy being different there, I do think that's fundamentally a much different throw. I'm not suggesting that's what they do right this second, but for those that are acting like, well, if he can't throw the ball at third base, he can't throw the ball anywhere, that's not totally true. I mean, you can very much play the outfield and let it rip. The same way, if a catcher gets the yips, can't throw the ball back to the pitcher, but if you try to steal on that same catcher, he can throw a bullet down to second base and get the guy out. Why is that, some might ask? Because you don't have time to think. You don't have time to think. And I hope that Noelvi can get out of his own head, move on, make the throw that he's capable of making, and we don't have to worry about all this. But I think it's very important to at least say on the front end, this is very much an evident thing, and you should be paying attention to it during the games and seeing if we can kind of get past this stage that is Noelvi guiding the ball or wishing the ball to first base.
I think he'd be a perfectly fine outfielder. I think he could settle into that role in right field. He's got a strong arm. And he's incredibly fast. I don't think people maybe realize how quick he is. So he could get to a lot of balls in the outfield. The problem is you want to make sure he can't play third base before you just throw him out there in the outfield, in my opinion, because it's significantly more difficult to go find a third baseman on the free agent market than a corner outfielder. And there's a lot of players that you can shuffle in and out in the outfield that it just – you've seen it this year. How many guys tried at third base that have been absolute dumpster fires there, either defensively or offensively. There's been a single one all year that's been able to do both sides of the ball. So that's why I'm not in a rush to move him. But at the same time, like if you don't trust Noelvi Marte to play third base the last 2 innings with a big lead, why is he playing there? Like, what are we doing?
Yeah, it's It's a good question to ask. I think it's a fair question to ask, and I think the only evident answer is that they feel like they need some pop in the lineup, and it's oddly enough, Noelvi is batting ninth. So it's kind of hard to justify, right? You're like, well, we want him in the lineup because of his bat, but he's hitting ninth, and the only reason that we really want to kind of relieve him of his duties is because we don't think he can play a solid third base or a consistent enough third base to trust him throughout all 9 innings. It's really kind of a head scratcher at times of what exactly they're doing with that. But you know what? If you can hit, you'll find a place to play. And if Noelvi continues to hit the ball like he did tonight, they'll figure it all out one way or the other. The issue is that we need Santiago Espinal's glove maybe and Noelvi's bat in one player. And I would ask everybody, what do we think is closer? Do we think that Do we think that Espinal's bat is possibly closer to Noelvi's bat, or do you think Noelvi's glove could be closer to Santiago's glove? I know my answer. I know what I think one would be closer than the other, and I would say that that's the side I would kind of fall on, is taking my chances. But perhaps some might think that there's some pop in Santiago's bat that I haven't seen.
Well, first, before I answer that, it feels like McLean and Marte should maybe be swapped in the lineup. Like, McLean's in there for his glove. He should probably be the guy batting ninth. If Marte's in there for his bat, he should probably be the one batting second. Feels like that would, track a little bit better.
It would.
There might be a better argument to playing Santiago Espinal and just going with the defense if you had a better lineup 1 through 8 everywhere else.
Yes.
And 2 or B, whatever I was saying.
Sure.
The gap between you and a playoff team was small, not big like it feels right now. You need the upside. So
yes,
Santiago's glove, even if it is better as a trade-off to Marte's bat, is not going to get you to the postseason. What's going to get you to the postseason is players like Marte, like McLean, like Steer, like Benson, having big second halves and showing more of the promise and the hope that we have in them than maybe we've seen from some of those players so far.
I think that was perfectly said. I mean, essentially, for you to do something that you're going to be proud about at the end of the year, extremely excited about, you're going to have to make up some ground. And the only way that I can see that, I'm not saying you're going to use wins above replacement as the stat or anything like that, but what player gives you the chance to possibly overexceed enough to get you into the postseason? And the answer is pretty clear. So, and it's not, again, I don't think either one of us are trying to downplay Santiago Espinal. It's just that we don't have the luxury, I guess, at this point to be able to play Santiago Espinal at third base, specifically with how poor he's played at the plate. It all goes back, I guess, Nick, if you want to get down to it. Espinal's role at this point would be a defensive replacement late in the game, and it's also obviously hitting left-handed pitching. And anything outside of that is crazy noise, and we'll see if that's the plan moving forward. I don't know.
Espinal has 174 plate appearances against right-handed pitching this year. That's the problem. If he's in there to hit against lefties, which he has half of the amount of plate appearances against, that's fine. He hasn't been great. He actually has pretty good numbers still against left-handed pitching, 292 on the year, 344 on base percentage. No power, but you know what? With his glove, that's a fine player. But the problem is he's been used 174 times to the plate against right-handed pitching, which he's never hit a lick of in his entire career.
Right.
So either use him right or get rid of him. Like, it's that simple to me.
Yeah, and to be clear, tonight I think he was used in the right role if it's a close baseball game. Like it's perfect. It's perfectly fine to bring him in the 8th inning with maybe at most one more at bat, and you're up by. I think the minimum is you have to be up by at least 2 runs with 6 outs or less. That's what I would say. I think that was a question asked on X: is when do you bring in Espinal in a spot like that? I think that, again, not to get into the analytics of it all, but if your win probability at the time is a 70+% in the baseball game, and that would require you to be in a tight game late in the game, then I would venture to be perfectly fine with that. I guess the ultimate question is what we've said time and time again, and we will find out, and it's something to keep an eye on if you're a fan. I think it's actually one of the nuances of this baseball team right now is if you're not going to trust Noelvi to play like tonight, it'll be interesting to see how he's utilized moving forward. And if you're not going to trust him to play in the 7th, 8th, and 9th innings, it's really hard to justify automatically putting him in the lineup at that position because you're already admitting that you don't trust him when it matters the most, but you're willing to play him 7 innings a day at that position that you don't trust him at. That doesn't add up to me. But as far as worst case scenario, Nick, Marte can't hit the broadside of a barn if he tries to throw the ball to first base. Let's just say he makes 5 throwing errors in the next 2 days. I hate to say this, but you still can service Noelvi Marte either at DH or you can stick him in the outfield, because I think that and again, do I want to put him in the outfield? No. That's last case resort. But he is fast, like you said, and I do trust him to be able to throw the baseball from the outfield, because I don't think that you have to have nearly the amount of thought process that goes into making a accurate throw to first base versus trying to hit a cutoff man from the outfield.